Welcome back to video 2 of the Incarnate-System. As I said, we were solving 3 problems. We've gone over the number 1 problem for game masters. Now we're going to start focusing on the number 1 problem for players. And that's understanding how to automate it. If you're playing paper and pen, you have to read hundreds of pages from multiple books, cross-reference and understand it all to be able to play. If you're using a virtual tabletop like Fantasy Grounds, you have to understand the syntax to automate it. And that's a pain too, so either way, you have to understand a lot of information, it's very difficult. So let's go through character creation. Let's start off super simple with the Barbarian. First up, let's open up our player action cheat sheet. This summarizes the most common actions that a player will take. So this describes movements, actions, bonus actions, interacting with objects. And the reason why I'm opening it up is at the very bottom, it has a PC creation section. It has the stat wall. If you're using the stat wall, I ran the statistics. If you roll a 4d6, that means you have 6 to the 4th power, 1,296 possibilities, and these are the odds of each number you're getting at. So Fantasy Grounds cannot handle rolling 4d6 and dropping the lowest, but this allows you to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to roll this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, and we're doing a Barbarian here. So that means I want to be big and strong. My highest number, ooh, I got an 18. So then I want to have a lot of health. So my second number is going to go into Con. And third number, I'm going to stick into Dex. These are the 3 main stats that Barbarian wants. I'm doing this first because when I add my race, it's automatically going to be adjusted for me. So then we have a 13, a 12, and 11. At this point, it doesn't matter all that much. Personally, I think it's better to be a little bit wiser. And I'm going to stick more in my intelligence and my charisma, because in the Incarnate Bestiary, there's a lot of new monsters that cause intelligence saves. And quite frankly, I'm going to keep writing lots of them. So I think that it's okay to be intelligent. Okay, so we have this here. Next is the background. So I'm going to go into library and tell it that I'm creating a PC, and it's going to change these buttons so it's easy for me to choose my backgrounds. We have 60 options in here. 60. Why so many? Well, we have so many because the Game Master needs that many to generate a world around you. But you can also use them yourself. I think I'm going to be a Sea Captain Barbarian. Cool. And we can see notes in here. It's changing things, like giving me the glittering robe and several other things, down on the future tabs, all automated nice and quick. Next, we're going to do our race. I'm going to keep it nice and simple and be a half-orc. Half-orc has an ability called Relentless that's super, super helpful for a Barbarian, because the Barbarians tend to be in the thick of things. And finally, I'm going to do my class. So and one thing to remember is you always want to look at your skills, because I already got History, Intimidation, and Survival. History and Survival were for my background, Intimidation is for my race, and I get to choose 2 others. I don't want to choose Intimidation because I essentially lose and I won't get anything. Let's do a Nature and a Perception. Cool. And it checks those in. So if I'm rolling these, that's all automating. Good. Next, we're going to do starting items. Here we have the Barbarian starting items. And we also have the Captain starting items. And when I come down to inventory, I can just drag this over, and I'm done with my Captain starting items. So now I'm going to read through this. The typical is a Great Axe. Fine, I'm just doing typical, so we're going to find the Great Axe in the list, and drag that over, and collapse this down and keep going. 2 hand axes, or 1 of any other item. Again, I'm just doing this quick, so we're going to stick with the default. You could choose something else if you'd rather. The Explorer's Pack, and 4 javelins. One glitch to know about Fantasy Grounds, that I'm not sure how they programmed it, and I don't know what happens, but if you are the Game Master, you're now done. If you are the player, you need to click on each of these that's a different number and type that number back in, because there's a funny glitch where the numbers display properly for you, but not for your Game Master. And the way Fantasy Grounds saves stuff, it saves what the Game Master has, not what you have. So in your next game, you'd have 1 of everything if you didn't do that step. God love you, Fantasy Grounds. Okay, notes, we'll come back to that in a minute. What I really want is this Actions tab. So we have to manually tell it that I have 2 hand axes and 4 javelins, but we really want those effect coding the people asking me about in the break. So we have Rage, and there's the action coding all integrated in. And let's see. Relentless Endurance has one too. Savage Attacks, sorry, you're going to have to code that yourself. The good news is you come down here, melee, you get one extra. That's all you have to code there. There's no way to do that for you. Sorry. But these two, you just drag down. I'm done. It says it's a spell. Isn't that odd? Well, personally, I'm going to relabel those Barbarian. It's not a spell, it's a Barbarian ability. And this one is Half Orc. And you can call these whatever you want to organize them. I just prefer moving them out of the spells section. So Rage automatically gives us a count out here to the side. As we get level up and we get more, we just come over to Preparation and change how many uses we get. Relentless Endurance allows you to heal by 1. Well, the reason why we do that, and this is a different PC. So, you know what? I want to get his name. So I'm just going to generate the half-orc description real quick. So I'm Goat's son of Achmed. And yes, it uses a different calculation schema for every race. And 73 means I'm an old half-orc. They don't live to be much older than that. 7'3" and 264 pounds. And male. Okay. So now I'm going to drop an NPC, and it really doesn't matter which one. Here, I give you, this is a list of all of the NPCs I've written so far. And yes, that's a long list. Okay. So we'll just do a goat for now. Level 1 goat. If you look up this goat, it's actually from Norse mythology. It's one of the 2 goats that pulls Thor's chariot when it flies through the sky. So this goat is going to charge. Okay, that's if it hits with a hoof attack after moving 10 feet towards it. Had to remember that real quick. Okay, it missed the first round, but it goes around. Eventually it's going to hit. Eventually it's going to hit. There we go. And it does damage. And we're just going to roll a bunch of damage because the goal here is to knock him out. So he's unconscious. And when I click this, it heals him by 1. And that's essentially what Relentless does. That's the easiest way to code it. Rage makes it so that I'm going to take half damage. And so now when he does damage, he hit me for 4 and I took 2. And Fancy Grounds automates that, makes it super easy. And this is the way I have that set up, where it's under action coding. I have an idea that may make it so that in the next time I rewrite my extension, that when it will scan through these, looking for action coding and dropping those shields into your actions tab. I think I can do it, but I don't know yet. I haven't looked at that code yet to see if I can change it. I'm super excited at the possibility though. Okay, so here we have, yeah, this guy is ready to play except for his notes section. Right now is really boring. Well, we can come up to the sea captain, and we can look through the tables individually, but when I'm in Ahoy, instead of looking through them individually, I just roll them all at once. But maybe that's just because I'm used to being a game master more than a player, so I never have time. I'm always working on like 5 different characters at a time. Freely offer my knowledge to those that wish Lord. My sass is my career, and I'm evil. It's all about the money. I'm a barbarian. It's all about the money. Ooh, all about the money. And after we pay a boss, that's why it's all about the money. I'm in debt to a crime boss. That kind of makes sense. I'm not sure if I'm so much evil anymore as naive and I got into a bad position. Some people want to kill me so that I never tell a secret they'd rather have untold. Anyway, so we already have, let's do lawful evil. I may be in debt, but I will repay it eventually. And now I already have this character that's really fleshed out pretty well and is ready to go into a game. And that didn't take very long at all. It has pre-automated action coding. Yeah, I don't like any of those. It's Good enough for now. Okay, so going into more detail on things that could be of assistance, the player action cheat sheet here, all of these links open up the rule set at that specific point, with the exception of a couple of items. So like down here, there is a dodge, and it says it opens up a spell. That source is 5e war coding. That's odd. And we also have, let's see, that's dodge. We also have help that do the same thing. Well, these are two very special rules that actually have action coding that makes them easy. So if we drive into these and drop them in here, I can now target an ally and give them advantage on either a check or an attack, which is what the help action does. Or I can take the dodge action, applying that to myself, and then anyone that attacks me will have disadvantage automatically. Thank you, Fancy Grants, for being smart. Not thank you, Goat, for 1 and 18 and the 16. How do you dodge that? Oh well, at least he had disadvantage. So there's all of that automated. And down here at the bottom, we have some of the less common rules that you probably won't have memorized, like falling, but it'd be good to be able to look up. So here's the SLD version of falling. It's nice and short and simple. But I actually ran calculations on terminal velocity and how far will you actually fall in X number of seconds. And I was shocked to discover in 6 seconds, i.e. 1 round, you can fall a total distance of 410 feet. Wow. That means that no more of this, oh yeah, it's going to take you 2 or 3 rounds to fall all the way down. At least in my worlds, now that I've won the numbers, you have 1 turn to do something, to cast Featherfall, to shoot a crossbow with a grappling hook, to do something to keep from hitting the ground. And if you don't, you're going to take that maximum train D6 damage that the SOD tells us is the maximum damage. The good news is, yeah, anyway. So that's one of the less obscure rules. The underwater combat. Whoever remembers the rules for underwater combat. But it's linked in here so you can look it up quickly. If you're new to Dungeons & Dragons, sometimes it's helpful to have the races described for you as you're choosing them. And so I often send this to new players to help them figure out what they want to be. Druids have a very powerful ability called Wild Shape. Wild Shape allows you to transform into an animal, and you gain the stats of that animal. It sounds kind of difficult to actually play because you have to have the character sheet open. For those of you who know Fantasy Grounds, you don't have much screen space, and having this much open in addition to your character sheet, it's just too much. So, a nice, easy way. Yes, I gave you all those links, so it's quick and easy to do. But a nice, easy way to do this. Let's come down. These are 1/2s, black bale. So I'm going to drag these over. And now, if I'm in the combat tracker, I'd stick all of these into a black bale section by typing in this box if I wanted to take more time. But now I'm going to click the 2 transformation buttons. This effect changes my stats so they align with that of the black bale. So the black bale has 15 strength, and so it's going to mess with my stuff and change my stats to make it so it lines up properly. Cool. And now if I were to roll a check of some kind, it's not going to be based off of my stats, it's going to be based off of its stats. So it has that +5 there, so if I roll an athletics check, there it is. You can see instead of the +0, it's now giving me the +2 that the black bale should have. Okay, but it also gives me the attacks. So if it's this guy's turn, he targets that goat, I can use the claw attack. And I'm getting advantage. Oh, I'm getting disadvantage. Because I'm unconscious, because I have 0 hit points. Yes, Fantasy Grounds, you are right. Because I'm level 0, I have 0 hit points. Okay, Fantasy Grounds automates a lot of stuff for us, and it was right. I never gave him any levels. I was just demonstrating quickly. And I think that automates most of the things here. One thing to understand, up here at the top, it says instructions for using them. It gives you all the instructions I was just talking about. It also talks about known limitations. I had to assume a starting AC when it's based off of this. I assumed you have an 11 AC, i.e. 11 leather armor plus 4 dex. Most druids will have that. If you don't have that, you would need to change your AC to match this formula for that effect coding you're applying to you to automatically change that all. But that means we're automating it. So if you're a T-Rex, you're as big as a ball and really easy to hit after you've been polymorphed. Obviously, you don't wild shape into T-Rex. Okay, so that goes into a lot of the stuff that's automated here. I guess I can go into a couple other things. Some of these items now. So like, let's look up Obelism kit. So we now have skill coding. And if you go up to your skills, and we drag that over, it's going to give us a new skill that, depending on your background, you may or may not have proficiency with. And if you're a ranger or something, you may end up with expertise there. It also gives you rules for using them. Now, all of these rules do not exist in the system reference document, so I had to write them from scratch. And occasionally I'll add new items like this Berserker juice, which is one of my favorite items now. Those of you familiar with a Berserk battle axe, it inspired this. This is a juice that if you convince an enemy to drink it, so you slip in to punch for a bunch of guards, then for the next duration, based on the value of the juice and how rare it is, whenever they take damage, whenever a hostile creature damages you during the next 2 days, you must succeed on DC 13 Wisdom saving throw or go Berserk. And it describes Berserk, which is essentially you attack the closest thing to you. So if you slip this into the punch of a bunch of guys outside the guard tower or whatever, you give them some free wine or something with this mixed in, then all you do is you stand way far back and you throw a pebble at them. Do 1 damage, you're hostile, and if they don't save this, they start attacking their friends, wondering just what's going on. Now, it's up to the game master whether they want to use the items and stuff like this that I've added. It would have been really cool if I could have used a lot of the items that exist in the various books, but I'm only allowed to use the stuff from the system reference document, so when there hasn't been information, I've been adding to it. And I think that goes over most of the things I've done to help players out and to get them up and running quickly. So I'm going to stop the YouTube recording.